in the old days, publishing a book was a really big deal because you had to print a book, you had to have a shipping and trucking distribution network, it had to go into bookstores and libraries. There was a significant capital investment to get that book on the shelves. You had to go on book tour, city to city. You had to physically sit there and talk to people and sign books, and the whole thing was a really big deal. And so for a lot of us, when we think about writing or publishing a book, that's where our brain goes, and our brain tags that as really big deal, like hard thing to do. There's also a bit of self-labeling, like, oh, am I ready for that? Am I good enough for that? Then all the ego comes into play, and the self-saboteurs come into play. And so what I'm suggesting is a complete perspective shift to go, that was that era. We are now in the digital internet era, and everything has changed, including books. So now, here's a different, more freeing way to think about a book. If you say to yourself, what can I write or audio record, because here's the other thing about this era. If you're not a writer, it doesn't matter. You get a voice record software, or you can record on voice memo on your iPhone. You can record your entire book and then upload it straight to your computer. At which point, you can either have voice recognition software, I've heard Dragon is one of the best, transcribe that for you, or you can go to a place like Fiverr.com, so that's Fiverr.com, and it's called that because most of the jobs people will do for Fiverr for $5. And I use a woman on there, and she transcribes 10 minutes of audio for $5. And here's the great thing. She adds in punctuation. She does the first pass of editing. So that is a humongous cost saving. It makes it so much easier. And for people who say, well, I'm not a good writer, but if you're teaching and you're speaking and you're counseling, you can talk. That's a skill you already have. So just talking to your phone, talking to your computer. Audacity is a free recording program that you can download to your computer. It is fantastic. It's so easy to use. There's a ton of tutorials on YouTube. So if you want to get a decent mic and record into your computer, and then you can edit it, like you make the blooper. What I do when I'm self-recording is I go bleep, and I do it really loud, so in Audacity the volume spikes. So I can see just by looking at it where I need to cut that piece out. So if you do it that way, by the end, you've also got an audio. You've got an MP3 download that you can give to your people. You can either sell it along with your book, so it's kind of like an audio book, or you can say, I'm going to take this piece of it and make that available for free as a gift, and then if people go, I'm really enjoying this story, or I'm really enjoying what she's talking about, then maybe they want to purchase the full book or the full audio MP3. So the way to think about writing, publishing, your content, your words, your stories, your idea, if you can shift your perspective to what will be helpful, educational, entertaining, inspiring, what will give my people help, enjoyment, compassion, entertainment, all of the things that you're probably already giving them in your business. You just want to take that and put it in book form. It's really that simple. And so that's how you get your ego out of the way, because this is not about you writing a great novel and being an artist and birthing this thing into transition. It's so much simpler than that. This should not even, writer's block should not even happen, because this book is not about you. This book is about the help, or the compassion, or the entertainment, or whatever gift you want to give to your people. So there's two ways you can go about structuring when you're trying to figure out, okay, yes?
I apologize. What did you say the name of the, is it
Audacity.
Audacity.
Recording software, yeah.
Thank you.
That's completely free, and it works as well as any paid software.
Thank you.
So when you're thinking about how to structure your book, and your questions that you want to ask yourself, I'll just give you a list of them. Number one, do you want an ebook or a printed book, or both? Do you want to sell that book, or do you want to give it away for free? a great way to use a book that a lot of people don't even consider. A book is like a book version of your website. It's a book version of your branding, your business card, your mission statement, but it's done in a way that's not dry. It's done through storytelling. And here's the thing, as long as you are telling stories, people will love your book. And then you might want to put in a little how-to or a little explanation, but if you make sure that the majority of your book is stories, people will resonate with that, they will love it, they will pass it around, they will ask you for more. So I'll give you an example. There's an internet marketer, writer guy called Chris Guillebeau, and he's built an entire business from traveling around the world. His goal is to visit X number of countries, X number of years. And he just came out with a book. It's called The $100 Startup. And so all he did was interview people who had started their business for very little amount of cash. Like they didn't have capital funding, they didn't have money in the bank. They were just innovative and pieced together, and he just tells their stories. That's the whole book, right? So for you, if you're working as a therapist or counselor or learning, practitioner, you could just pick, say, 10 of your clients who have really compelling stories, or stories that you know that the majority of your clientele coming in are going to resonate with, and your book could be just telling their story. And of course you get their permission, and then you change all the details. So if they were male, you make them female. If they were 60, you make them 20. So that person's going to be unrecognizable, and there's no conflict of revealing client secrets or whatever. You could also change some key parts of their story. Let's say if they were physically abused as a child, you might want to change that to something that is going to follow the same therapeutic profile, but is not physical abuse, right? So whatever that might be. Maybe they had an alcoholic father, but they weren't beaten, but the father went into rages and they were frightened and there was verbal abuse. You can always change the identifying details like that. That's a book. That's something that you can give for free, and it gives people an instant connection to you, to how you work, to the kind of person you are. They will either, and this is a thing I'm really big on, you want your books to cause people to self-select themselves as your clients. So you need to be yourself in your book. You need to speak the way you normally speak. You need to have your personality in there, because you don't want everybody as your client. You only want the people who are going to book a session with you and go, I love her. And then you'll have a repeat client. So there's no point in trying to get everybody in your door. You only want the people who resonate with you. And those people will give you more business over time than having a massive influx of just new customers who aren't really, where you're at, and maybe don't like the way you speak. Maybe you're too formal. Maybe you're too informal. Your book is a qualifier. It weeds those people out. It lets them know who you are, how you roll, what they can expect. And they've heard the stories. So now maybe someone who is new to equine-assisted learning has a pretty good idea. Their fears are immediately assuaged before they even come for their first session, because they've read how this goes. All right, so that's just one idea. And then what you can do, let's say you do produce that book, and everybody can do that identical book. There's no such thing as saying, well, she's already done it. So, because you have completely different stories, and you have a completely different voice. Your personality is completely different. I may hate his book, and I may love yours, because I like the way you express yourself. So you really have to get out of this, that book's been done a million times. Just be yourself. Because there's nobody exactly like you. That automatically gives you a unique positioning. You don't even have to craft it. If you let yourself be yourself, you will automatically have a unique positioning in the marketplace. So now let's say you've written that book, and you say, well, I'm going to just produce this as an ebook. So I'm going to save it as a PDF, and maybe you do your own cover, or maybe you're going to pay a graphic artist to do a cover for you. So again, if you want to hire a graphic artist, if you go to that same website, Fiverr.com, you can get someone in India for $20 who will do you a pretty decent cover. And this is an ebook. It doesn't have to compete on a bookstore shelf. You don't need to be producing at that level of production. Or if you want something a little bit higher, you want someone who's actually a trained, well, I shouldn't say that because I've hired graphic designers on Fiverr who've done a 4-year graphic design degree, but they live in India. So 20 bucks for them would be the equivalent of $200 or $300 here. So, but if you, let's say you said I wanted someone in North America and I want them to have gone to this college or whatever, then you go to upwork.com. So upwork.com. And they have a more expensive, higher level of service providers on there. And you just type, you enter into the search box, ebook design cover or book design cover. And the people come up. You always want to go through, here's my 2 criteria for outsourcing to people online. I don't work with anybody who has less than a 4.5 out of 5 feedback rating. I won't even go to 4 because if they're 4.5 or 5 stars out of 5, you're not going to have any problems with them. They're going to hit your deadlines, all the rest of it. Yes, those people are a little bit more expensive, but it's totally worth it. Number 2, look at their portfolio. The stuff they've already done should be what you want. Don't look at their portfolio and go, wow, he's a really great graphic artist, but I want something a little more vintagey. I'm sure he can do it. No, probably he can't. The stuff that's in his portfolio is what he's going to put out. So if you want a vintage look for a graphic designer who has vintage in their portfolio already, because that'll cut your time and you'll have a greater chance of getting what you actually want. Yes?
What was the name of the one that was the cheaper one? Fiverr.com?
Yeah, Fiverr, Fiverr.com.
Fiverr, F-I-V.
Yeah, like give me a Fiverr, like $5.
Well, not B as in boy, but V
F.
as,
Like the number 5,
yeah.
and then RR on the end. Fiverr. Because most of the gigs are priced at $5 per whatever they're offering. Okay, so you've got your cover. You've saved it as a PDF. Every Word document program can do that. And then, what you can do, because people go, well, I have to decide, do I give it for free, do I sell it? No, you don't. You can do both. So let's say on your website, you should always have an opt-in form where people visiting give you their name and email in exchange for something really cool or really useful. So let's say you make your ebook your giveaway for your opt-in, or you might make chapter 1 of your ebook your giveaway. So they can sign up and they can get it for free. Maybe you publish a blog post and you're really excited about your new book, and so you want to give it away for free in the blog post. You absolutely can do this, and then you can also put it for sale in your shop. I do this with my ebooks all the time. I have 17 different books and ebooks that I've published. I have them available for free in the blog and on certain web pages, and then they're for sale in my shop. And I'll have people go to my shop and buy 4 to 7 ebooks, half of which are available for free. They don't care. Out of 80,000 customers, I've had one person go, hey, I paid for that and it was free. Oh, no problem.
What kind of shop do you have?
My shopping cart?
Did I say you sell it in your shop?
Yeah, I have an online shop.
Oh, online shop, okay.
Yeah.
And you're selling the hard copy? You're selling the hard copy, but giving away the ebook?
Well, and that's another way you can do it. You can give the ebook for free, and then people might read a bit of it online and go, I actually hate reading online, but this has given me enough, I want the print version.
Mm-hmm.
You can also say, well, I'll sell it online as an ebook because I don't want to be shipping out books across the country. I'm not ready to get into that.
Mm-hmm.
But when I do my workshops or I go and I speak somewhere, I'm going to have some printed books for sale. Because people who see you live, often in the moment, they want to buy it. They want a physical printed book and they want you to sign it and things like that. So I'm going to just go quickly into some how-to because I don't want this to just all be about theory. So most of you probably know this book. Remember this one? I don't know how old this is, like 20 years?
Oh yeah, that was
25?
the first one, huh?
Exactly. This is her original. Does this look really fancy? What's the design quotient of this book?
Midland.
Like, exactly. Exactly. But this book is an international bestseller because the content helps people. It's what they need. And this book was self-published. So this is getting out of that, oh, I'm not a real author unless I get a publisher to publish my book. Because here's the other thing that I encourage people all the time. I have a number of friends who've written anywhere from 5 to 15 books and had them published by mainstream publishers. I have yet to talk to one of them who's made any money. Because the publishers, they'll give you, like, say, a maximum 15% royalty is super high, 12 is more the norm. That's after all their costs have been paid. And that's not 12% off the cover price of the book, that's 12% off of whatever they sell the book for. So they may cut a deal with Barnes & Noble and sell your book for $4. So you get 12% of that. Meanwhile, you are still going to have to do the same amount of marketing and self-promotion and blogging and videos to let people know about you as an author. And if you don't, the bookstores won't carry your book anymore because your book's not selling. So they'll put your book, if you're lucky, out where people can see it when it first launches. You have about 1 to 2 weeks to generate sales, and then they keep one copy in the back shop. You're done. So this perception is, oh, if I get a mainstream publisher, I'll get the whole marketing team behind me and they'll support me. No, they won't. I have another friend, unless you're Nora Roberts or Danielle Steele, then you're going to make some money from going with a mainstream publisher. I have another friend, she wrote a book on children's past lives, and a mainstream publisher offered her the deal. And so the other thing that's attractive to people about mainstream publishing is they'll give you an advance. So they'll give you like, ooh, $10,000 check up front, and then your ego gets to go, I'm a published author and I have a check, and you feel, well, that'll be the last money you see, almost guaranteed. So anyway, this woman, she had signed, she had a hot topic, because this was about 22 years ago, where people weren't even talking hardly about past lives. The publisher was completely excited. They say, we're going to do a nationwide tour for you. We've booked you this amount of promotion, blah, blah, blah. 2 months before her launch date, someone else came along with another book that the publisher got more excited about, and they completely dumped her and put all the promotion to the other person's book, because they can do that. So she had to travel around the country on her own dime, fulfilling her book date tours, promoting it herself. She never made a single penny from that book. If she had published that book herself. So in contrast, I'm going to tell you about my first book that I published, and it was about this thickness, the first book that I published. I put it up on a website. There was no blog. I had my first child who breastfed every 2 hours for 8 months, so I disappeared from the face of the earth into exhaustion. So I did nothing. But the book was teaching people how to heal their Crohn's and colitis using natural methods, and it actually worked. So all you needed was a couple people to buy the book. And what I had done is I'd been on a forum. This was, way back in 2000. I'd been on a forum and I had said, people have asked me to write this book, but I don't know if it's going to work for everybody. Maybe it only worked for me. So I'm going to give you the booklet form. So that was an ebook form. It was a 60-page document. I said, I'm going to give it to you guys for free. Just tell me if it works. The emails came out. So I had 250 people got it for free. So that was my marketing. That was letting people know, there's this book. I don't even know if I want to publish it unless it works, so let me know. The feedback came back, please publish this. Some of this I've already discovered, yada, yada. So I had 250 people who knew about that book when I published it. Within 6 months, that book was netting me $2,700 a month, net. After expenses, after shipping, warehousing, and fulfillment. And that's the difference. So that's one book. Most of my readers own 4 or 5 of my books. Because once they know, I love your stuff helps me, your stuff changes my life, your stuff entertains me, your stuff takes my, my hopes or inspires me to be, that person, your next book, they are going to want it. So that's the other reason that you want to self-publish, because if you self-publish, like all of those 250 people, I had their name and email. So when the book was ready, I could let them know. And after they bought the first book, when my second book was published, I could let them know. and so on and so forth. So I now have 80,000 people on my email list. So anything that I'm doing, I can let people know. You give that away to a publisher, you have no way of contacting them. You have no way of announcing. Your book can then just, you write your second book, and it disappears into the sea of new books. Nobody knows about it, and nobody knows how to find you, etc. The other thing you can do if you self-publish is you can have within your book links to resources for those people. So I'll go, oh, I've got a free audio for you on this topic, go to this. A mainstream publisher will not let you do that. Because they say, well, we're not publishing your book so you can promote your business. We want to promote our publishing house. So you give up so many opportunities when you go with a mainstream publisher, including the money. So I'm going to give you another example. This is a book that I bought off the internet. This cover is, I don't know what you guys think of this cover, but it's like, this for me is so beginner. Like there's almost no design element to this cover. The colors are like, it's a bad cover as far as I'm concerned.
Well, you can't even read what it says.
Exactly.
So,
And what this book is a template on something called Create Space. So that's one word, createspace.com. So all she did was she formatted the inside of the book as a PDF document. She uploaded it to createspace.com. She chose a cover, so this would be what the template would look like on the website. This is all free, by the way. Free to register, free to upload your books. Createspace.com.
yeah, it's part of Amazon.
Yeah, it's owned by Amazon, and it automatically puts your book for sale on Amazon, which is awesome. So she just selected this template, and then she uploaded her images and her colors, because you can select that once you select the typeface. And then this book is available, and she can sell it on her website, because she just has to link to Amazon. So she doesn't have to warehouse and fulfill and ship this book, because Amazon will do it for her. But if she's going to do a workshop, and she wants to take 30 of these books, she logs into her createspace.com account, she orders 30 copies at the wholesale rate, because she's the author, and has them shipped to her house so she has them for her workshops. So that's called print on demand. It has changed the face of publishing and book buying, and there's no reason everybody shouldn't take advantage of it, especially when you're first starting out, because it's the easiest way to print books. Now, once you get going, so this is one of my ebooks. I'll show you the front and back cover. This ebook was actually printed in China because a company wanted to do an in-store promotion in Whole Foods, and they wanted this book as a giveaway, so they were going to pay for the print cost. So I said, sure, print it wherever you want, and this, because they were printing a significant volume, it made sense to print in China. So I'm going to just start passing around these books so you guys can have a look. As you're looking at them, I want to call your attention. I actually found this in my room here. So this is another self-published book. This is a much nicer cover, isn't it? This is well done. So this woman has, and she's got in the front all her books. You can see how many she's done. And they're all stories. This is like a travel journal, stories. But she publishes them herself. She's formed her own publishing company that she's called Trafalgar Square, and she just puts them out. Now, what I want you to look at when this book comes around, I've marked it with a little notice here. And the ones you're looking at, the one she self-published, this is the most common mistake, which is why I want to tell you guys about it, so you make sure you don't do it. When you're formatting a book, do not leave a line space between paragraphs. You know what I'm talking about? If you look at her book, she's left a line space. If you look at my book, there's no line space. A new paragraph is just indented 5 spaces. The only time you leave a line space is when you're going to the next section. So on this book, this is a great example because on the same page, on this page, she's left a line space, which is wrong. On this page, she's done it correctly. She's indented 5 spaces, and there's no line space in between paragraphs. And then from a certain page onwards, she's formatted the rest of the book correctly. So when you're proofing your books, or you either get what I do a combination of, you want to help me with that? I do a combination, my big books go through 7 proofreaders and everybody finds something wrong. But for a smaller book like the one I handed out, I'll maybe put that through 2 proofreaders and then I'll do the final proof.
So what makes a book small or large? Number of pages? And roughly speaking, large is how many pages and small is how many pages?
It's an arbitrary designation. What I found out is that if it's 60 pages or less finished, so that depends on whatever size you're making. You can make it this little size or you can make it a bigger size. 60 pages or less, pretty much everyone's okay if it's an ebook. If it's over 60 to 100 pages, they want a printed book. Because then you're just reading for too long on your computer, although people who love their Kindle and their e-readers, they prefer it in that format. So these are things you can get into as you develop this.
When you said you have a lot of proofreaders, do you go through Fiverr for that, or who do you use for proofreading?
Well, okay, so what I
Good
do, sorry,
question.
because I interrupted myself there. For the first proofs, I use friends and family members who are English degree. I had an uncle, he was an astrophysicist, so he was picky as hell, he could spot any mistake. Like, look for those people in your life who are the most nitpicky, anal retentive people you know. Those are the ones who you want to get to proof your book, and they'll usually do it for free. I mean, you know, they're your friends and they're your family. So I usually give that out to 2 or 3 friends and family first, and I have them go through and just give me feedback, look for any typos, any, you know, I don't get them to do formatting at that point. I'm mostly looking for punctuation, you know, headings, like spelling errors, things like that. And then once the book, after they've done it, then I take the book and I pay a graphic designer. I use someone from Upwork.com to do my books, most of my books. I pay them to then format it into the size that I want as a PDF. Once they formatted it, now it's going to go to your final proofers. Once you have your designer format it, you don't want to make any changes to content. You don't want to say, oh, I should have put in a section about that. That should have all been caught before by your proofreaders before. So when you're writing your own book, you finish writing it, you want to put that book away for a minimum of 3 weeks, don't even look at it. Pull it back out again, read it again yourself. That's when you're going to go, what was I thinking? Like, this is in the wrong place and I should have added it. But you have to give yourself enough time to have some fresh eyes before you even do that first step of editing yourself. Once you've got it where you're happy with it, that's when it goes to your friends and family for their editing. Once they've found every mistake that they possibly can, then it goes to your designer for layout, or you lay it out yourself and save it. Because again, the level of quality and accuracy that you want is going to depend on what that book represents within yourself and your business. So people who have books that have got spelling errors, formatting errors, can still sell a ton of books. Or if they're giving it away on their site, people don't care. They're like, well, it's free. I don't mind. I really care about the content. So you kind of can look at that too in terms of deciding how professional you want to go. Or, you know, if you are a perfectionist, like every point, see, that's what I am. I'm a perfectionist. Every point of contact in my business with my customer is proofed and corrected, and that's just how I roll. I'm nitpicking myself. So I wouldn't feel good about putting out something that wasn't at that standard of quality. But somebody else might. I mean, we have books that are written by, who was that guy? He's a non-native English speaker. Beyond the Dream Horse. Michael Bevilacqua. He's actually sold a ton, tens and thousands of copies of this book. It is a nightmare to read because it's English as a second language and he didn't have an editor go through it. So you're kind of reading and you're kind of rephrasing everything as you go, but it has not stopped his book from selling thousands and thousands of copies on Amazon because his ideas and his content are so strong and it's worth it to people. So you also have to take that into account when you're looking at how far do you want to go in your editing and your production value, how professional do you want it to look. Okay.
May I say that can be a rabbit hole too?
Yes,
Because it can be really difficult to know when it's good enough.
yes, exactly. And that's when it helps to put the book aside,
Yeah.
and maybe you don't look at it for a month or two, because then you can come back and you can read it like it was some new thing. And that's when you can understand. And then also not to paint yourself into a corner. This is not your only book. Like if you forgot something, that goes in your next book. It's okay, right? This is a fluid thing and it's ongoing. Okay, so if you decide, so Create Space is the easiest way to publish your book. And it's completely
What's that
free.
called? Oh, free space.
Create Space.
Create space.
Yeah, createspace.com. Thank you. It's completely free. If you decide, actually, I want to, but obviously because they're only printing one copy at a time, the print cost is higher. So your profit's going to be lower. So let's say you go, this book is selling well. I should go and print it myself. A great place that I've used repeatedly, they have really good quality, is called 48hourbooks.com. So just the numbers 48. And then I think it's just hrbooks.com. And they have a print quote, instant print quote thing right on their homepage. You can type in the size of your book, the number of pages, whether it has a color cover, and they'll give you a quote right away. And you can see how cheap it can be to print your book. So, and they'll do as little as 100 copies. So that's a no-brainer. If you're selling a lot of printed copies at your workshops and at your clinics or your farm, wherever you work, you definitely, that could be worth your while financially to use a service like that. Now for them, you have to provide them with your cover in PDF format, already sized and ready to go. Your book, of course, has to be completely laid out. They just print it and bind it. But they will do soft cover and hardcover. So let's talk about that for a really quick minute. When you're choosing whether you want to go soft cover and hardcover, here's how I decide. If it's a book that people are going to be in and out of a lot, like my health books, people use them as reference books. They will destroy the binding because they're in and out of it all the time. They're in and out of it for years. So for that, I do a hardcover. It's glued and it's sewn. So it's the most expensive binding, but it stands up to 10 years of someone using it as a reference volume. For the book that I pass around, that's going to be something you read once, maybe twice. Maybe you're going to implement the protocol for a few weeks, so you're going to be in and out of it for a few weeks, and then you're going to be done. If you're doing a book that's storytelling, or maybe you're talking about your own story, or it's maybe shifting between storytelling and a little bit of the novel and stuff, that people tend to read once, maybe twice. Soft cover is perfectly fine. The only way you would want to do hardcover is if you want to increase the perceived value of the book. So if you're producing something with photographs or art that's going to be like a coffee table book, then people want it to feel like a more expensive, produced book, because it's going to probably sit in a public place. So that would be the instance where you'd go for hardcover. And here's the other caveat though. When you look at the price difference between hardcover and soft cover, sometimes it can only be $2. So then you go, oh. So if I go hardcover, this hardcover makes you look bigger, more professional, more serious. It's a more substantial book. Think of the publishing industry. They release the hardcover first. How much do you pay for it? You pay more than double what you pay for the soft cover. Their print cost isn't double. It's a positioning statement, and because people don't know the numbers, they think hardcover books are really expensive to produce. But you can go ahead and get your quotes on it, and you go, oh, this is the only difference, so I would like this because this makes me stand out. Or this is, like Cheryl, maybe your branding is that you're gearing more toward the corporate world, towards professionals, so you want something that looks slicker and like a more hefty, substantial. Maybe you have a lot of scientists, or, like Linda does the workshops for the the nuclear or whatever facility, and those are hardcore scientists. They're going to be more impressed by a hardcover book than a softcover. So then that would be worth the extra $2 a copy for you to produce that way. So these are all just kind of things, there's no right or wrong. You just have to really think about your end user. Think about what they would like to receive. And an easy way to do that is just, you probably already know your clients really well. You probably are like them in many ways because you resonate with them. So another great way is to just ask yourself, I'm buying this book, what would I like? And that has never failed me. And I once went to a press conference with Anita Roddick when she was alive from The Body Shop. And she said, my entire business has been built. She says, I have never done any market research. I have never asked people what they thought. I just said, do I want this product? Do I like this product? And I go into production. And she built an incredibly successful business. So that's the other way, because the people that are going to follow her products are thinking like her. They're kind of, they're probably living a similar kind of lifestyle to her. So when she goes, this is useful to me or helpful to me or I would enjoy that, it's going to be for most of your people too. So that's another way to just take the pressure off yourself, to just go, what do I want? What do I want to read? So here's one more point I want to make about formats. So I have people who buy, for every book, the ebook and the printed, because they want both. Or you do it, yeah. Or they buy the Kindle and the printed, because it's not an either or situation. It's I want both. And they like the digital for when they're traveling, or they like to use the headings because the headings hyperlink to the chapters, so they're like, well, that's faster. And then when they're, lying in bed or on the couch, they want to be reading a physical book. So that's another way that, like you mentioned, you can get an ebook for free and sell the printed book. Or you can do it always. You can go ahead.
What about children's books? Do you have a feeling about how they're going now? I mean, when I want to hold books, but maybe they don't do that as much anymore.
I think what I've heard, and a friend of mine just published a children's book, and it has first printing sold out, and then someone from Brazil, I believe, contacted her and asked to produce it over there, and she printed it. If it's color, yeah. I think printed is the way to go.
And would you go hard or soft for children? I don't know.
I would look at your print cost difference, and if it's not that big, go hardcover, because kids destroy books.
Yeah.
Right? And if you look, probably from your own kids, what are the books you've kept?
Hardcover.
Exactly.
And how about workbooks? Something that you're designing that would actually be, for me, I like a workbook because I can flip it over, I can write on it.
Yeah.
And do you laminate or not, or how do you make it so it's not too expensive but still really useful?
The workbooks are the sticky ones, because I think we all prefer spiral bound, right?
Yeah.
Because it's the easiest to use, and spiral bind is the most expensive. Most people. So it's really like, I have a business training program, and I have 2 separate workbooks, and I spiral bound, and I did a full cover, laminate cover. And yeah, it's one of my most expensive books to print, but I was like, again, I'm doing this program. My people are going to be using it, they're going to be like in a coffee shop, or maybe they're going to take their stuff down to the beach. They need something that's going to stand, and they don't want a hardcover. It's always going to be flapping shut. It's going to be a pain in the butt to write on.
And do you put those at the same places that you're getting your other books printed? Or is there a spiral bound specialist?
For the spiral bound, I used a company down in Michigan called Thompson Shore. So that's Thompson without a P. Thompson Shore. I've used them for about 15 years, and they're awesome. But I think their minimum print run is 1,000. So they could have dropped to 500 by now, because see, as more companies switch to the digital printing presses, all of a sudden they can do, so check with them.
And would they do the same thing? They give you I would assume people would want the workbook and the Kindle or the ebook.
Yeah.
Just for traveling. Is that something that a company like that does both, or I don't know?
No.
Those are 2 different people.
If you are having an ebook, you take care of that.
Okay.
You have your graphic designer that you found on Upwork, or you might be able to find someone good enough on Fiverr. You format it, you have it as a PDF download, you have a server, the same server where your website is hosted, where you upload that PDF file,
Okay.
and then when someone purchases it, have I lost you already?
But just a tiny, but I know my kid knows exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
I'm like, honey, she said upload something. Help mama.
Yeah, exactly. When someone buys an ebook, they have to download it from somewhere,
Mm-hmm.
because it comes to them over their computer.
Yeah.
Or to their mobile phone. So the place where they download it from is going to be usually your server, because you don't actually want your files. I mean, you could use Dropbox, but I don't like that. That's a publicly accessed platform,
Okay.
and you could use it starting out for sure.
Okay.
How do I know if I have a server?
Do you have a website?
Yes.
You have a server.
Yeah.
Your website is hosted on your
So
server.
it's the host
Yeah.
of the website, okay.
Yes, your service provider.
Well, and is it worth saying that a PDF can be displayed like a page on your website?
Absolutely.
So it can be read that way. It doesn't even have to look like they have a new file that showed up somewhere. It can.
Yeah, what
it can be
happens
very
now,
easy
like
to
if
see.
I emailed you the link to the PDF
Mhm.
and she clicked on it,
Yes.
it would just open up in a
Yeah.
browser window, like
Yeah.
if you're using Firefox or out into Explorer, whatever you're using,
Okay.
it opens on that web page, and then you have a choice to either read it online or download it.
Okay.
Yeah, your kids will help you out.
I know.
Well, now, so let's say, so you write this book, you have it in PDF form,
Yeah,
you use an old-fashioned telephone to call the host server and say, how do I upload
upload
my...
it, correct. That's right.
If they'll let you call them on the phone.
Yeah, that's right.
Right.
Well,
Or if you have somebody who helps you with your website, that's what I did.
Yes.
I said, I have a WordPress website. I said, okay, Kelly, we're putting up an ebook. You know how to do this, right? And so he.
And you
Set
could
that.
also
Yeah,
use
WordPress is really
those same two services, Fiverr.com and Upwork.com. You can find some, is your site on WordPress, do you know?
Yeah,
Oh,
Super
WordPress,
easy.
they have tons of experts on Fiverr. So for like 10 or 15 bucks, he can upload that file to you. For
Do you know if Weebly works for this kind of stuff?
It does, but I don't like Weebly at all, and you will never get your search engine rankings.
Oh, I
with
know,
Weebly.
I know
Okay.
all that.
Okay.
I just don't know if Weebly has a capacity initiative for that.
Well, because that's not your own, it's free hosting, right? So I don't know, I don't think they're gonna, you could check with
Paid
them.
host.
You're paying, so maybe they do give you a certain amount of storage space. But I would switch to WordPress as soon as you
I'm
can.
in the process.
Good, yes. I had I have a business program called listentoyourfreedom.com, and one of the members of that program, he was on Weebly for 3 years. And he had a lot of content, and I said to him, there's no way. I said, you're never gonna move this business forward until you switch to WordPress, or you can do it yourself with PHP, but you want your blog in WordPress, because Google and Yahoo and Bing love WordPress. They just love it.
Are you familiar with Teachable?
Yes,
Is that good?
Teachable's good, and I actually had my guy do a review, and he liked Thinkific, like think, if, I see.
what is that?
It's a platform where you can put together courses, and they provide all the hosting, and they're already formatted, the pages are formatted, and so people will go there and they buy your course, and the platform, you pay them, it's a monthly fee.
Yeah, it kind of sounds like Teachable.
Yeah, you pay all of them, you pay a monthly fee, and then people can access your course online, but you don't have to design it because the templates are already there. You
Or
just have to
distribute it,
upload-
that's brilliant.
Yeah, you just have to upload your content.
And that's his name, is it Teachable?
Teachable.com or Thinkify.com. Thinkify. Oh, no, sorry, Thinkific. No, we were talking about this, and we were like, why do they call it Thinkific? Like, Thinkify would be better, so now we're actually all calling it within my company. We keep calling it Thinkify because that's the name we think it should be. It is Thinkific. You're like it's hard to say, right?
Repetition is
Thinkific.
powerful.
I know. It's so annoying. But anyway, so he had his site on Weebly, and he went through massive effort to move it all to WordPress. And within 3 months, his signups had 10 times to his website. He sent me, he was actually in Bali. He took a photo of his first affiliate referral check, like it's the first time he actually started making money from his site, and blah, blah, blah. And fast forward, I think it's been a year and a half now, he just let me know, he said, hooray, this is the first month, and him and his wife both did the course. He said, he's a Silicon Valley engineer who became electro-hypersensitive. So his site is all about educating people about the dangers of radiation and how to reduce your radiation and all the rest of it. She's a medical intuitive, so she does a lot of, the in-person sessions and all the rest of it. He goes, this is the first month we both made more than we made from our real jobs before. Yeah, so that's the power of having your setup in a platform that's scalable, in a system that the search engines love. And then he was invited to do a TED Talk because they could find him. So that's the other reason that if, the free platforms are fine to get started. And then as you go, and this is the thing that if you start feeling overwhelmed, to just know that all of this stuff, it's endless, right? You're always going to make your website better. You're always going to create more programs and more books, but there's no pressure because it's dictated by you. It's your timetable. It's what you enjoy. It's what feels good to you. But there's really no limit to where you can go and how you can expand. And it just gets more and more fun, in my opinion, because once you get over, if you have a technology block, once you get over it and you realize, go to Upwork, go to Fiverr, hire someone. It'll cost you hardly nothing. It'll cost you probably 15 minutes of the time that you spend with a client to pay that person to do all this stuff that makes you feel like you can't move forward. So that's another really good way to do it. And I'm just going to check if there's anything else I wanted you to tell you about that I didn't cover. Oh yeah, the other thing I wanted to point out, another really great use for a book, is to package it together with something else that you're offering. So, and this again could be an ebook that you're giving away for free in a certain blog post. So people who found that blog post or did receive it for free, but that you're having new clients come into your website all the time. They don't know that a year ago 100 people got your ebook for free. They don't care. So now maybe what you have is you have an online course on a certain topic, and they get a copy of your book for free. That's the bonus, free bonus, right? So there's lots of ways you can take your content and package it up together. Or perhaps you did the voice record, or you just did an audio recording of your book, and that's given as a free download when someone purchases the printed book. So now they have two versions. They have one they can play on their car or their iPod, and they have the printed book that they paid for, and that might make someone go, I'm going to get the printed book because I really want the audio. So, there's all kinds of ways that you can package that up. Maybe you do a workshop and you work in the cost of your book to the cost of your workshop. So if it costs you $5 to print that book, you charge $5 more for your workshop, and all of a sudden your books are going out there, and then people are going to share them around. And then you position yourself as an expert. Because here's the other number one reason. I love your face. And she's like, oh, I don't want to do that. Like that. Do a session on that.
Okay. I'm an expert.
You are an expert at what you know.
I got a good idea.
And what life has taught you.
Thank you. I can accept that.
Yeah. You don't have to say, I'm an expert at what you know. You're an expert at your own life and at your own experiential learning that you've had in your life. So that's the place of expertise. So when I come to you as a client, that's what I'm paying for.
Okay.
I'm paying for your experiential wisdom. I'm paying for the healing pathway that you've walked in your own life that allows you to see those same needs or blocks in my life. And I'm relying on you as the expert to guide me through that process. So your book is yet another tool for new people who don't know who you are or haven't worked with you to position you as an expert, because by the time they read your book, they will know who you are, and they will know how you work, and they'll know what is unique about you that's different from the 5 practitioners over here. And then, like I said, they'll self-select themselves as your client based on how they resonate with your work. And if they don't, you don't want them as your client because they're going to be your problem client, right? So you only want people who resonate with you and who love the way you talk and they love what you're doing and they see, people's gut tells them, I need to work with her because I read her book and it was fabulous. The other thing I want to touch on briefly, don't ever be afraid to tell your own story. It's not ego-serving, it's just, it's that thing of being vulnerable enough to connect with your clients and your potential clients, because nothing tells people more strongly about you than your own story. So, and if there's things that you don't want to share about your story, you don't have to put everything in there. You can just say, I had some issues in my childhood that caused a lot of trauma. You don't have to talk about who it was or what kind of trauma it was, unless you feel that you're okay sharing that. I mean, I think the more you can share, the better, because honesty is a glue that binds people together. But if you're not comfortable sharing that, and I once read actually Karla McLaren's book on it, right? She states
The intro tells the whole story, the language of emotions, yeah.
Yeah, and where she's not comfortable talking about, like she's not comfortable about a certain details, she says, I'm not ready to go public with this information. Or I don't see that going public with this serves the story. Put
She
that
also
in.
warns people who are sensitive that, not to read some of it.
Yeah. To say, I don't want to put you back into your own trauma, so just fit this section. But the fact that she does that, like those of us who read her book, we all started nodding. We love her, right?
Oh, yeah.
We love her. We instantly resonate with her. We think she's amazing.
Yeah.
So that's something to keep in mind when you're writing your own books, is to tell as many of your own stories as you can. Even if you have a book that's a compilation of 10 client stories, or it could be 10 horses that you've worked with, that each of them had an amazing lesson or amazing gift. Intersperse with that your own stories. Maybe how did this horse come to you? Or, so this horse does this for your clients, but what is this horse's gifts to your own life? That whole type of thing. Now, what I would like you guys to do is to take a look at the hand. Oh, I didn't give you the handout. No wonder. All right, we'll split these. Do you want to start there?
Do you have to have a blog?
Oh, that's a good question.
This seems like
So-
more and more work just to get one word out. That's all.
That was a really good question. She said, do you have to have a blog? So the answer to that question is, where do your clients...
Uh-oh,
It's good, the lid's on.
I know. It was loud, I'm sorry.
Okay. And where do your clients come from?
Well, I don't know how to run clients right now,
Okay.
but people have been telling me for years I need to write a book.
Yeah.
But, complicated story. I just got really, really sick 3 years ago, so I kind of had to drop out of actually doing much of the work.
Right. Okay, so the reason I ask where do your clients come from is if your clients are mostly referral-based from people who know you or doctors in town or other practitioners, then your website is not so important. You can have just even a one-page site that just tells about you and what you offer, etc. But if you are getting clients or sales through internet traffic, but if you need to, or if you want to, then a blog is going to do that for you better than anything. However, if you're never going to write a blog post, if you hate that, if the thought of that, so now let's backtrack a bit. You don't have to write blog posts. You could do your piece of artwork for the day with a little one-paragraph thing. That's a blog post. People would actually sign up to receive that every week.
Not my artwork.
I'm just saying as an example, right? You also might do an audio. Let's say once a week you do a guided meditation. You go, this is a guided meditation with horses. And you publish that once a week. That's all you need to do.
Step in and interrupt everything just to say, you should do stories of crackers and Sarah June and all that.
That's what I want to do. I have the book in my head, I just haven't ever,
Like, they could be really short.
yeah. And I have done individual stories, but like when the FMA existed for the newsletter, I would write articles for the newsletter all the time.
There
Okay,
you
so, wait, stop there.
Yeah.
All of your articles that you've written for a newsletter,
Mm-hmm.
publish each of those as a blog post. Yes,
Can
and you
Fiverr
can,
do that?
Fiverr can do that. If you need someone to do that, you pick somewhere you can mail them to, because if they're printed, or if you're able to, you take them into your Office Max or Staples and you have them scan them into a PDF that you then can email to your person on Fiverr. They can transcribe them, upload them to your blog post, hit publish. All of this stuff you can outsource if it's not your goal. But the other thing is,
Couldn't she record it and then send it to the Fiverr person to
Yes.
have them?
to have it transcribed. Yeah,
That's how you
absolutely.
like to do it.
So Judy, can I just add something? I think about really something that to me feels like such an incredible amount of energy, and Anne is one of these people, spending so much time on Facebook, writing their little experience, and I think, why aren't you putting that into a blog post, right?
Yes.
Why aren't you, especially your journey with cancer, right, and that whole healing?
Yeah.
People will, women in particular, and then you go for a ride with some pump, right,
Right.
or whatever, it's like, I think, there it is, right?
I hadn't thought about that, but first of all, I need a new computer because my computer is toast right now, but that's easy enough to fix.
But those Facebook posts, someone from Fiverr
Uh-huh.
could copy from Facebook
Yes.
and make it a blog post for you.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
the
that's a
trick,
really good point, because if we do spend a lot of time on Facebook, and it is an important place for a lot of us,
yeah.
for our businesses, there is a lot of good stuff there.
And that's the trick for social media marketing. People will say, which social media is the best? And the honest to God answer to that is whichever one you love to use. Because whatever is easy for you, whatever you're already using, you're going to be on it the maximum amount of time, and that's really going to be the best platform for you. The only thing to remember is whatever social media you choose, whether it's videos, blogging, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, always send people to your website, because you will not get the sales from Facebook, because the sales and the client bookings and everything come through your website.
So, and that's being rebuilt because I just discovered this last week when I posted the link to my website. People say it's not working, and it's something that WordPress has updated, and the theme, I don't understand this stuff at all. The theme, according to Trish Borsman, who designed my website, is old and no longer
Yeah, because
serviceable, so she's gonna have to redo the whole website anyway.
yeah, and because WordPress is a free software, you have to do the updates all the time.
Yeah,
or-
and it's open source, so it's
Yeah.
not protected by Microsoft or a company that's saying, we developed this code and we own it. They give it away, so they have lots of different people developing lots of different stuff, which is cool, but it means that you need to stay up to date, because that also helps keep it
But the hackers can get in
bug-free
really
and
easily.
safer from hackers.
Yeah.
Mine
So
seems to
I-
update automatically.
Yeah, you can
Mine
set it
does
to
too.
update automatically.
And I just went through that too.
Yeah.
So I have a blog question.
Mhm.
How often?
Yeah, that's.
Minimum once a week. If you want to get the search engine rankings,
Small posts.
it can be a tiny post, like I said, it can be a picture with a paragraph.
Well, that's where, using that whole concept of you develop content once and then you use it, how many different ways can you use it?
Exactly.
So if you put it on Facebook, well then don't forget to make it a
Or
blog
if there's a
post,
video,
or vice
you
versa.
saw on Facebook or YouTube that you like,
That's
you
true.
can grab the code for that video.
It's true. It
That's
doesn't
your
have to
blog
be
post.
my content.
No. You can
Okay.
swipe away as long as you give it credit, as long as wherever you
Yes.
got it from, you link to their site. On YouTube, if you grab a YouTube video, it automatically links to that person's channel. So the other thing I wanted to bring out in terms of creating a book, if you have a blog where you've been telling the stories of those horses, that's an easy way to trick yourself into writing a book.
Yeah.
because you just blog about it. Every day you talk about maybe part one of what's one of your horse's names?
Well, the one everybody knows is Crackers.
Right, so Crackers.
Passed over, but.
You've got part one of Cracker's story, part two, part three, however many parts it takes to tell Cracker's story. Each of those is a blog post.
I wonder if we could do like a collective.
That's 10 bucks
Crackers.
then.
Yeah, I know, Crackers
Really
alone.
good collective.
Seriously.
Yeah.
He
Oh,
had 33 years and I've bred and raised him, so I got a lot of information on Crackers.
Yeah. So you just start that. You might go, I love writing his stories so much, I'm doing one a day. Just let yourself flow with it, whatever comes out, or you may do, 2 a week or 1 week, whatever. But when you get to the end of those, you already have them all done. You just copy and paste into one document, chapter 1, Crackers, all of those posts. Chapter 2, your next horse, all of those posts.
Right.
And your book is done. Nobody is going to care that same information is on your blog for free, because they don't want to have to go hunting through your blog. Maybe they don't want to read it online, and they want something they can download to their Kindle, or they want the printed version.
Or they want the photos of Crackers.
Well, Carolyn Resnick has, one of her books is just her blog posts. But they're, sorry. Sorry. But they're organized, and so, yeah, people buy them all the time because it's organized.
So if Crackers is really well known,
Yes.
so this is an idea, and I don't mean offer it to be overwhelming, but once you started this or published something, or even before you did, you could solicit other people's Cracker stories.
Yeah.
And that could become the follow-on, or it could become part of it, or, I mean,
Exactly.
it would be an incredible support to you,
Totally.
right?
Yeah.
Sarah June.
Sarah June.
Yeah.
Buckingham.
Yeah, and that's another great idea. Get your clients to write the book for you. Have people say, "Can you tell me your story?" Record it.
Yeah.
If they don't, or if they like to write, get them to write their stories. Say, "I'm putting together a collection of the clients who I think have really amazing stories. Would you be willing to be a part of that?" Almost nobody's going to say no. They're going to be honored.
Then will they buy the book? More likely.
Absolutely, they'll buy
Oh, because they're in it.
And copies further, yeah. That's one of my magazine articles.
So,
that.
so here's my new idea that I had. So I think testimonials are often boring because they can sound heartfelt, but they sometimes also sound kind of pretentious or drony or whatever. So I thought, but I like stories told in the voice of the horse.
Yes.
So I wrote to one of my clients and said, and she had made some nice videos of me working with her horse. What do you think about, Tico says, and maybe that's a video, or she puts words to it, and then, Letha, Tico's person, and then Letha says, well, so those can be blog posts, and they can be really short.
Yes.
And I work with a horse whose name is Beyonce, and that in and of itself is, and she's a big black FEI dressage mare. So, right, so that's really fun, and I think her person might do that with me too. So, right. So I share that. That's if that idea works for you, share it.
It's a fantastic idea, and because it's fun and it's entertaining and it's sweet and it's it's all about connection. Whether you're giving help or entertainment or compassion or reason, you always want to look for the person.
Sorry, I'll leave it.
Do you want some hot tea?
I've got too many things.
Try that because it's hot.
Okay.
Okay, so the only other thing that I want to make just before we close, and go through these questions on your own time, because I've got some, asking you to brainstorm and get an actual plan together for yourself. Point number 3, PowerPoint. Because this is another way you can have a lot of fun creating a book that's either free or paid. And I wish I had I just couldn't bring everything that I wanted to bring, but there's this woman in Australia, she's called Leonie Dawson, and she does this, it's business training, but she's like this flower child, new age, dyed hair. Like, she's just so herself, and she has a huge following because she's so herself, and she shoots her business videos outside under the tree while she's breastfeeding her child. So that's her tribe, and she has over 100,000 people who bought her program. She's doing really well. She has an ebook that she's just, because she likes to do art, she's done a photograph and then done some art over top of the photograph, and then her daughter came in and put her handprint on it, and on the next page is a quote. That's the whole book. It's that simple.
That's an ebook?
That's an ebook, and it's a free download, and people love it.
You mean it's
One page?
It's 2 pages?
No, it's a series of pages. But
Oh,
on one
okay.
page, she's got her
Okay.
art.
Okay.
And then she'll have an arrow going, can't remember the name of her daughter, but whatever, spilled her milk here, that's why there's a stain. She just is so herself, and she works it in there. And then there's just a quote that's inspiring or uplifting or helpful.
Well, and how many of us have sheets of paper with, crumpled up with green from a horse's mouth, or
Yeah.
the footprint, or
And
if that was
that's-
authentic for you?
Exactly,
Right.
and that's the whole idea, is to get out of this mindset of it has to be proper, and it has to be, like, my stuff reflects who I am. And I'm dealing with people who are very sick. It's a very serious topic. And I have a lot of, scientists and MDs and PhDs who use my program, and so I present at that level for them. And that's, because I want them to take it seriously. I don't want them to think this is some flaky woo-woo thing that take some herbs and you'll be fine, right? But if in my horse blog, I do a whole bunch of stuff that I do not do in my health business. Because my horse blog is more free-flowing, it's more about art, and it's more creative, and it's more spiritual, and it's, so, you just have to find those ways of letting yourself flow.
I have a
Yes.
question about photographs. When the photographs are instrumental in showing some of the connection that we
Yes.
want to show, and children are involved, I know that you gotta get permission, but is it worth paying someone to take really good photographs, or is that no longer necessary? I mean, the photographs make a big difference to me.
Absolutely.
I don't know if that makes a difference.
And see, you just answered your own question.
So that would be yes, because it's important to me.
Because you like a good photograph.
Look at my website.
Or you just pay for them to come in on certain days. And someone doesn't have to be a professional to be a good photographer.
Okay.
Like, my daughter is 14, and she takes amazing, and she's done photography at school. So then we're back to the hire a student thing. So you don't have to get a professional who's working in the field. You go to your local photography school and you hire a student. And you say, I'll give you, if you're going to produce it in a book, you give them a credit, photos by, you give them 2 copies, they have a beautiful produced item for their portfolio. That's worth a lot of money to them. So then you may only need to pay them $100 for everything.
So just to add to that, one of the things that professionals will have is they'll have better equipment, they'll have, the reflective things and that kind of thing, and that can make a difference in certain situations.
But if you're hiring a student, they have access to the school's equipment. And they also have access to the professor, so if they don't know how to set up a shot, or they come out and so that's the thing, you gotta be willing for them to take a little more time, because they may come up and do a whole bunch of shots and go, oh my gosh, these didn't work out. You need to talk to their prof about it. The prof goes, well, because you're not setting up the lighting right, and you're not doing this, and then they may need to come back and reshoot. So that's the downside of hiring a student, but that's why they're cheap. Right? But this book, I purposely chose this book when I handed it around because it has so many photographs, and I also wanted you to see the kind of quality you can get in black and white. And my book that I handed around, the health book, those are all stock photography. I like Fotolia.com and Dreamstime.com is also, those are the 2 cheapest. Fotolia. F-O-T-O-L-I, it's an Italian site, Fotolia.com, and Dreamstime, all one word. Dreamstime.com, those have the cheapest professional photo purchases that out of all of them. Some of them are insanely expensive. Those two are my favorites. The photos in my book are all professional photos from Hotelier Dreams Time. And you can see, if I don't even know where that book's gone, but you can see, so you can see the quality with which they reproduce on the inside. They're great in black and white, right? So you print black and white, your print cost is going way down, like.
I take photos every session because I'm actually collecting stories.
Yes.
And so it's not realistic for me to have a photographer, a quality photographer. How, I don't know, like, do you have some examples of what, I don't know what those photos would look like in a book. I know how they look like on the computer. They look okay on the computer, the quality, but is there a way of knowing that it's going to work?
Take your photos on your computer, save them as a PDF in the format that you would send to your printer, and your images have to be 300 DPI, dots per inch or higher. So save them at that, make sure all your images are that quality.
Can I save them as that DPI, or do they have to be that DPI? I'm not sure.
They have to be that DPI to start with. So then it's your number of pixels.
Yeah.
So if your camera's set to shoot at a small size, you're not going to have any photos that are going to be print quality. But if they're set to photograph at a large size, or like iPhone automatically takes photos at a really big size, so they're fine for you to use for whatever. Then print it out. Just on a black and white printer.
Okay.
And if it looks fine, print it out. But here's the other thing. What it looks like on your printer is not going to be what it looks like on the printer's printer.
That's what I'm worried about.
So you always get a proof. If you're doing photos, you have to, or I wonder in this, did I do any grayscale in this book? Yeah, so in this book, see the headings here? There's a grayscale in the background. You need to see how dark that comes out on your printer. Because on my computer, this is so light you can hardly see it. But when I get the printer to send me a proof, that's how dark it is.
Another thing you can do is you can convert either on your phone or in the photo program preview that comes with your Macintosh book, your computer. You can take the photo and you can convert it to black and white, and you can mess around with the contrast and start to see what it looks like when you print that out on your printer. You can take the color thing and you could go and you could make photocopies of it. So there's a lot of different ways you could get a sense of what it would
you on a
look
Mac?
like.
No.
Oh,
Okay,
sorry,
so
I thought
then
you were.
You would, Photoshop. Photoshop software will do the same thing.
Or
I don't have
Lightbox.
Photoshop, but I can get it.
Lightbox,
Or
yes.
Lightbox might be less
Yeah, that's less
technical.
intense.
White box?
Lightbox.
Lightbox?
You've heard of, is it Lightbox or Lightroom? You've heard, so Darkroom is what we used to use to develop photos, and so this might be Lightroom. I'm sorry, I'm not sure.
Yeah, plug them both into Google and see what pops.
Yeah, but it's
And
less,
that's an option to.
Photoshop is a huge program.
Yeah,
You
you
don't-
can
I don't,
play around
I've
with
looked at
your-
it, it's so complex, I
Yeah,
haven't
you
felt
don't
that
want
one.
it. But
Yes, because that's another really good point. The photos that you send to the printer
That's why I'm not gonna-
do not send color if you're printing black and white. You need to format them in black and white first. So that's why, Barbara's saying, play around with it in your photo.
Now,
editing
would that
program.
somebody on Fiverr be able to do all this work for me?
Absolutely.
There you go. There
You
you
know what
go.
else Fiverr can do? They are so amazing. So you see this photo of me on the cover. I've got all this background.
Did they paste you on the background?
No, but what I've done is I've done shots like this out in my backyard, and I'm like this.
Oh,
Or I'm like, right? For like if you have a web page and you want to go, hey, this is an awesome deal. My daughter shot them I just put my camera on a tripod and I set up the shot, and then I said to her, okay, go. All she had to do was push the shutter. And then I sent them to a woman on Fiverr, and she cut me out of the background and put me on white, like a transparent. So then you can use that on if you wanted to be on a book cover where maybe you're holding a sign, or you're maybe you shoot a photo of yourself like this, and then you can put a horse in there, or you can use it on your website to illustrate different things. But there's so much we can do digitally. Before my first book, I had to pay a professional photographer $1,000 to do a studio shot to get the shots exactly the same quality that I did in my backyard with my daughter. Like, the internet and all of this technology has just changed the way we can get our stuff out there and just for so cheap and so easy. So it's a fun, really, really fun time to be in the world.